UFC Fight Night Brown versus Bonfim takes place this weekend, and I figured we go ahead through this poor excuse of a card, even a Fight Night card at that, an Apex fight, or not a Fight Night, an Apex card at that, and give our predictions for all the fights. And if I'm moving through this video quite quickly, pardon me, because I just filmed this entire video and realized that I didn't even have my microphone set up, and I didn't want to have super bad audio like I did in some previous videos. So we're going to go through this quite quickly, even though this is a very bad card as it is already. We start with the prelim opener, catchweight bout. I'm not sure at what weight. I think Reese fights at 85. So this could be anywhere from 185 to 205. Zachary Reese versus Jackson McVeigh. I don't know too much about Jackson McVeigh, but if we're looking at their previous fights before this, Zachary Reese had a no contest against Cedric Dumas for low blow, but before that he's looked pretty decent. He has good slick striking. His grappling isn't great. He did get slammed on his head and KO'd. But I don't know too much about Jackson McVeigh, and looking at the win by here, it looks like the finishing instinct, striking, and grappling all favor Reese, so we're going to go ahead and pick him to win this fight. I'm not going to go with any predictions this card just because it's not that good. We'll definitely have a lot more energy next week for 322 Makhachev versus JDM. We move up. Actually, we're going to skip this fight. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was canceled. One of the fighters has dropped out. I don't know if this is one of them is the replacement, but I don't want to predict a fight in case this is the one that did drop out and hasn't been fixed. I saw Guru say something about that in his video. The website hadn't been updated. So we're going to go ahead and skip this one. But in my original video, if you really wanted to know, I picked Daniel Marcos, and I said this was a really hard fight to pick. But we'll go from there. Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomez. Tisha Pennington hasn't looked great. I understand they're both coming off wins, but she usually ends up in split decisions on the losing side of it. They're relatively the same in height. The records don't say too much for themselves, but you can see the WMMA prediction chart. The more she looks like a man, the more fighting she can. So I'm going to go with Denise Gomez. Even the strikes, for the most part, favor her insignificant. Relatively the same, though. I won't say too much there. The grappling favors Denise, so maybe she strikes with Pennington. If she doesn't like it, she gets some grappling up against the cage. Probably grinds her out to a decision like most WMMA fights go. But yeah, we're just going to go with the tried and true method, Denise Gomez. We move on to Josh Hokett versus Max Jimenez. When I first... Oh, okay, he's gone. I was right. Yeah, I didn't do too much prediction research for this card just because it's terrible. But Josh Hokett's a Contender Series fighter, undefeated, looks decent. Pretty stocky, heavyweight, 230, 6'1", 6-0 undefeated. I don't know anything about his opponent. This is his debut. This is both of their debuts, but I'm assuming Hokett being the Dana White Contender Series fighter and Jimenez maybe just being a regional guy. I don't know too much about his career. We're going to go with Hokett off of just experience. I tried to look at some stats here, but Jimenez has nothing in there either, so I can't even make a prediction. So we'll move on to Mayra Bueno Silva versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Mayra Bueno Silva looked alright in her last fight against Macy Chasson. I think it only went to like the end of the first round, and then she had a pretty bad cut that I didn't think should have been stopped, but I get it. But she isn't a good fighter in general. Her fight with Tisha Pennington was bad on both sides of the fight. Pennington didn't look good either, but Mayra's style is just pressure forward like a zombie and try to throw abysmal striking, or until you get close enough, shoot a takedown. And I think Javelin Cavalcanti's a bit slick on the back foot. She'll be able to keep distance, maybe strike when needed. Whenever Silva does get her up against the cage or try to get a takedown, I think Cavalcanti can do the right things to offensively grapple. She has a really good takedown defense compared to Silva. I don't know if I see any counter grappling, but obviously the takedowns that Silva does go for don't go well for her to begin with. Strikes relatively the same. They favor Cavalcanti, maybe not on the significance, but when you're landing a bunch and Silva's doing nothing strike-wise and failing grappling, it's probably a bad look. Now, maybe there could be levels here with Silva being a former title challenger and Cavalcanti, I don't think she's been there yet. Maybe that could come into play, but I'm going to go with Cavalcanti being slick on the feet and staying away from Silva, peppering shots from the distance, and then stopping whatever grappling Silva has for her. We move on. Ricky Simón versus Raoni Barcelos. We're going to go with Ricky Simón. Raoni Barcelos is a guy who he strikes against his opponents because they fear the takedown, and then they realize that his striking isn't good. This happened against Talbot. Payton would start to get momentum back, and then he would get taken down. So he would fear the takedown, allowing Barcelos to strike, lose respect for Barcelos striking, start to feel confident on the feet, get taken down. But Ricky Simón's an experienced guy. He got a win over one of the Basharat brothers not too recently. where he got a slick knockout even when I think he was losing that fight on the scorecards. He's a dog. He's always looking for the finish, and he's about the same size as Barcelo, so it's not like Barcelos can like little man strength like grind him up against the cage takedowns. I think Harney will try to grapple pretty strong in the first, but I think Simone's going to be able to stop it or at least weather the storm and then really put that pepper on him in the later rounds. Records, momentum, size is all relatively the same for these gentlemen. The wins aren't crazy, the strikes aren't crazy, the grappling isn't crazy, but I'm going to trust in Ricky Simone off of the fights I've seen from him. We're going to go with him. We move on to the final fight of the prelims, Haider Emil versus Jamal Emmers. We're going to go with Jamal Emmers. Now, both of these gentlemen pretty good. Jamal's got about a little under double the wins that Haider does. Haider has a lot less losses, though, but I think that's experience, and you can see by the momentum. Haider Emil just faced his very first loss. I don't recall by what, if it was decision, knockout, or submission, maybe a no contest. But Jamal's coming off a win. He's got momentum. He's got the reach. He's got a slight height advantage, an inch. Now, both these gentlemen seem to like to go for finishes for the most part. Good KO rate on both sides. Striking favors Haider Emil. Grappling relatively the same. Neither of these gentlemen really like to get taken down, but Jamal might shoot one if he needs to. There's no odds for this entire card, so I'm not really going to check that out. But I think experience plays here. I think Haider Emil will probably have a good first round with his striking, and maybe he'll have to defend whatever grappling Emmers is doing to maybe if Emmers doesn't like what's going on the feet. But I feel like maybe later on in the fight, Emmers' experience will start to show, and he'll use that cardio and that still got it mentality and just start to put it on Haider Emil. Maybe he'll try to take him down to weather his striking, take some pop off his shots. But I just feel like the experience plays in. I'm big on experience. I feel like just proving that you're a fighter. You know how to do the right things. I don't know too much about either of these guys' previous fights, but 21-8 seems like 8 losses, 8 lessons. He's probably learned a bit from it. Some early defense, and Haider Emil's still pretty green. 11-1 after just facing his first loss. Who knows if he's feeling the pressure of this, being like, if I lose this next one, like my hype is done, like my contract might be done. So yeah, we're gonna go with Jamal Emmers here. We move on to the first fight of the main card. This is like probably will be fight of the night. Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tulio. Both these gentlemen relatively same career time frame. The height is going to favor Duncan and the reach. But both these gentlemen like to go for KOs. 75 to 71%. Low decision, low sub, low fight time. Knockdowns definitely favor Tulio, so maybe he has more of the bigger moments. He definitely looks to shoot more, shots out there, trying to hit his opponent. He's got nearly over 3 more strikes landed per minute than Duncan. Grappling, it looks like he might take down if he has to, but I think Duncan's takedown defense is going to be pretty good. And I don't know too much about Marco too. I feel like his last fight was a bit tough, and I feel like somewhere in the back of my mind it's saying Christian Leroy Duncan got a good finish. And I just think highly of Christian Leroy Duncan in this fight. This is going to be a good fight. It's going to be close. There's probably going to be a finish, a KO, I hope. It could be Tulio, but going with the gut, and the guts tell me to go with CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan. We move on. Chris Padilla versus Ismael Bonfim. Now, I don't know too much about this Bonfim brother. We'll get into the main event after this, a little bit after this. But if we're looking at momentum here, the careers aren't too different. The win for Padilla is looking good. The loss for Bonfim isn't great, probably mentally going into this. They're about the same. The reach definitely favors Padilla, 2.5 inches, sorry. But it looks like Padilla, now they both have about the same when it comes. It looks like the finishing instinct favors Padilla as well. Striking favors Bonfim, but the grappling favors Padilla. Now the accuracy is better for Bonfim. The average is a bit higher for Padilla. Perfect takedown defense. I don't know how many fights he's had in the UFC, but if he's able to nullify Bonfim's grappling, maybe he can get some striking going and then implement his own grappling to tire Bonfim out. Forgive me for not knowing too much about this brother because the other one's in the main event, so clearly he's going to be more known. There's nothing that screams at me that says Bonfim is going to be that much better on the feet. I think Chris Padilla can hang. Maybe he'll even succeed and get the better of the exchanges. But I like the grappling for Padilla and him also not having high chances of being counter-grappled. I could be wrong. I don't know too much about Padilla. This could be a big step up. I know the Bonfim brothers are pretty good for at least where they're at in the UFC. but we're gonna trust in Chris Padilla for this card. We move on. Muslim Salikov versus Uros Medic. Uros Medic is a guy with a really high finish rate. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about his previous fights, but he looks to go for the KO. Short fight time, gets a lot of knockdowns. Isn't afraid to throw. Doesn't really go for a lot of grappling. That's going to favor Salikov here, but I'll be honest, I'm going to go with Salikov. I feel like Salikov has gotten better. Early in his career, he was a bit inconsistent, but I feel like the past 2 fights I've seen of Salikov have been a spinning back kick, like a spinning roundhouse TKO, if I'm not mistaken, and then like a nasty overhand right or something. Just lights out power. And even though Medic has more KOs, sorry. I don't know. I feel like Salikov's tough. He's durable. It'll probably be both of them going for an exchange, and Salikov just landing the better shot, the right time shot. Probably on the feet. I don't think another head kick is gonna happen, but probably just in the pocket. Salikov lands the hook or the overhand. I could even see like a stiff jab, putting him down good, and then maybe some ground and pound. But yeah, we're gonna go with Muslim Salikov by KO TKO. I don't know why I'm giving that ending, even though I wasn't gonna do like full on end predictions, but move on to the wonderful co-main event of the evening. Matt Schnell, 17-9 versus this. I don't know if this is this guy's debut, but I think that's the Contender Series fit, or maybe like a tough season fit. This is gross, dude. This is they're flyweights. Submission or decision for the most part, even though Schnell is known for getting chinned in that one fight against Steve Ashig. Even though he has the higher striking output in this fight, the grappling isn't insane for either gentleman. Definitely favors Morales with more than one takedown in this per 15 minutes. So maybe if he doesn't like it on the feet, he's going to shoot for that takedown. But I think Schnell has... I have to justify this as a co-main. If this is Morales' actual UFC debut, this is way too high of an opponent for him. Unless he was really something on the Contender Series or Tough, I think it was probably going to be Tough. So if he was actually something on Tough, and I'm just a filthy casual who doesn't keep up with that show anymore because it's extremely boring and corporate, shame on me. But I just think the experience of Matt Schnell is going to come in handy. I think he has decent grappling, and it looks... I mean, he's got way better takedown defense too. Both these gentlemen do go for submissions. I feel like this is... I'm not going to give this as a prediction, but this will go to a decision. And we're going to trust in the crafty vet, RIP Lucas Tracy retirement. But yeah, nothing burger of a main event, and we'll call it there on that one. We move on to the main event of Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. Now, I personally don't think Gabriel Bonfim won his last fight against Wonderboy. Maybe I need to rewatch it and see, but I felt like Bonfim didn't do enough with the grappling, and he was just panic shooting in the later rounds as he was tired and hurt. And Wonderboy would start to get momentum even with that head kick that rocked him pretty good. I understand he got the win from that. I don't agree with it, but that doesn't. I don't want to underestimate him coming into this main event. Now, I can't think of Randy Brown's recent wins, which is pathetic. But I know his only loss that I've really seen that's been bad was to JDM, which isn't a bad loss at all. And I don't know. I feel like despite me not having a good memory of Randy Brown, just because I feel like he doesn't get in the spotlight a lot when his fights, I think he's just more inclined to win this fight. I think he's got that dog in him. I could see Bonfim doing the same thing he did against Wonderboy to Brown. I didn't mean to open that. Where he has a good first round, maybe has some really good offensive grappling moments, but later in this fight starts to feel the pressure, gets tired, starts trying to panic shoot whenever his opponent gets momentum going on the feet. And I think Brown's got better takedown defense and counter grappling than Wonderboy does. And Wonderboy, he kind of doesn't have a lot of power unless he's going for that counter because he's a Taekwondo background or karate, one of the two. Kickboxing as well. Let me not forget that. Undefeated. But I'm going to go with Randy Brown. I think Bonfim's probably going to grapple early, have a good look in that round. But the reach favors Brown. It'll probably be a tit-for-tat first round with Bonfim maybe trying to get a hold of Brown to take some of the snap out of his shots if he doesn't like what he's feeling on the feet. But I think Randy Brown's willing to weather that storm. and he'll still have that dog, that drive in him to try to get Bonfim out of there, whether it's out cold later in the fight, or like an up against the cage volume TKO, or like a sloppy finish, like a Yuri versus Rakic, where he kind of like hurts him, gets him to the floor, ground and pound. It's not a direct finish, but the guy on the bottom's just been getting slaughtered enough to call it there. Either or. But yeah, sorry this was very quick. I did like a 25-minute video before just to find out this mic wasn't on, or even here for this matter of fact, and it pissed me off. And this card's already bad, so I just speed ran through it. I'll definitely have a lot more knowledge and excitement for next week's card, JDM versus Islam. We'll do our picks hopefully a bit early in the week. It's just I've been busy this week. I was gonna do them on Tuesday, and then it got pushed to Wednesday, and then Thursday, and I really was gonna do them tomorrow, but I got my lazy ass out of bed tonight and decided to do it. I was thinking about covering maybe that whole scandal with the gambling and fixed fights. Now, I am a small channel who has no authority, so I don't know if I should be worrying about this, but I saw some YouTubers kind of dancing around the topic just for legality purposes. I feel like it's still a very new thing with ongoing investigation. You don't want any defamation, so maybe I'll look into covering it if there is some other MMA news that I can kind of bounce or transition to not harp on the fixed fights in the UFC, or maybe I could just make a video of fights that I think were definitely fixed, because I've been seeing a lot. I think the FBI said it themselves. They're definitely looking into Jason Herzog, and there's been a lot of fights that Herzog has done that are very questionable. You got Cejudo versus Yadong, if I'm not mistaken. There's been some questionable ones. I want to say he reffed Holland versus Mallet, which was also interesting. But I digress there. We'll go ahead and wrap up the video here. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know if you have any video ideas. And maybe I'll drop a video sometime this week or next week outside of predictions or postcard reactions, talking about the recent news if there is some other things to go along with it. But see ya. Have a good night.